Hey, what's up, y'all? So, been a little minute, but let's go get to a tier list this time. I'm gonna talk about the most attractive out of all the 16 types. So by attractiveness, I'm talking about like more like sex appeal mixed with attractiveness. So we talking about like objectivity, like objective attractiveness. If you've been watching my videos for a while, you might know who I'm gonna put number one, but we still gonna have fun with it. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna try not to be too predictable, but I'm just gonna be 100% honest and unbiased too. Trying to be as unbiased as possible and just talk about in general, like um, typically like what types are the most attractive. You know what I'm saying? Like physically attractive. But anyways, let's get to it. Excuse me. All right. So as you see, I got the tier list. I got S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, D tier. Of course, S tier is gonna be the best. Versus D tier, that's gonna be the worst. You know what I'm saying? Now, before I get into that, we're not going to talk about genetics. Like genetics does play a big part in attractiveness, but I think like 9 times out of 10, when you talk about somebody that's attractive versus somebody that's not attractive, well, I wouldn't say 9 times out of 10, but I say like a lot of times you wouldn't realize it, but a lot of times when people are attractive, I think it's because they actually know how to make the most out of their genetics and stuff like that. Because you'll see a lot of people who are attractive, who could be attractive. Like in my eyes, I see people who could be attractive, but they don't really bring the most out of it. And then I see people who like, I don't know, I almost want to say they just don't try. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's some people who could be attractive, they just don't try. And then there's people who got really good genetics, and it's like no matter what they do, they're gonna look good. So we're not gonna necessarily talk about genetics. We talk about more so like people who just know how to bring the most of what they got out, kind of, or what they was born with. Because some people born with better genetics than others. But it's always a lot you could do, a lot more than what most people think. You know what I'm saying? But like, in my opinion. But first one we got up is ENFJs. So ENFJs, they can be pretty attractive. They got not inferior, dominant FE. With that dominant FE can be a function to where you can kind of, you're thinking about how the group feels in a way. You know what I'm saying? You think about how people around you, things affect people around you. So it can lead to you being into knowing what's attractive and things like that and having sex appeal. It can do that, but it's not its main purpose necessarily. So they can be attractive. I think they kind of go down the middle because they got that tertiary SE. SE probably, to be honest with you, extroverted sensing is probably the best function when you're talking about physical attractiveness and sex appeal. They'd be the best at achieving it. You know what I'm saying? So with that tertiary function, it can work very well for them. I'm gonna put them at, I'm thinking B tier. Let's say to B tier. Yeah, B tier is pretty good. So we got ENFPs. ENFPs can be attractive. So I think initially ENFPs will have a lot of charisma and stuff like that, right? So that makes them attractive, you know, talking about like terms of like personality wise and things like that. Now, whether or not they're attractive, it can vary depending on genetics and things like that. Especially when they get older, a lot of times they do learn how to bring out their sex appeal and attractiveness and things like that. And what adds to it is that natural charisma as well. A lot of them are pretty attractive. I think they're about the same level as ENFJs. I put them around B tier. Um, it really depends on the ENFP. To be honest with you, they almost always have a lot of charisma to make up for it either way. Like I said, it depends. There's some ENFPs who are like drop dead, like gorgeous, and then there's other ENFPs who may not, they're never really, I don't think they're never really ugly. I don't know. I mean, everybody, you can find an ugly person in any type, honestly. There's tons of ugly people in every type. Even the one I'm going to put as number one, this damn cat. Even the one I'm going to put as number one, there's plenty of people who are ugly. I already know who I'm going to put at number one, but there's plenty of ugly people who are also in that category with them. But, what the hell? Anyways, moving on, let's get to ENTJs. Now, ENTJs, I think ENTJs tend to be more attractive when you're talking about male ENTJs versus like the female ENTJs. I feel like, objectively speaking, of course, I'm not, I don't swing that way. I'm just speaking objectively. Like we talking about male ENTJs, I feel like they'll probably be more attracted to the women versus like ENTJ women who are being attracted to men. But with that being said, I think maybe they go about B, C tier simply because I'm thinking about both sides of the fence. I might change my mind. I don't know. C tier might be a little low for them. They'd be at the top of C tier or at the bottom of B tier. A lot of people do find ENTJs attractive, I think, though. That's the thing. That makes it kind of hard. Maybe this is hard. I think maybe they do go B tier. I might change my mind and put them. Yeah, I think B tier is fine. ENTPs, on the other hand. Okay, think about ENTPs. ENTPs, I almost want to say sometimes they can have trouble fitting in when they're younger. It kind of depends. Though. They can be a little too weird for some people when they're younger sometimes, or a little too, they don't have a very strong presence a lot of times. Let me put this cat. They tend to not have a strong presence, physical presence. So, like, the thing is, they'll be attractive as far as their wit and their intelligence and their charisma, and they can be funny. They're the funniest type, and that can help them out a lot with attractiveness. But as far as, like, physical attractiveness, they got that low SI. They don't have a feeling function can help you be attractive as well as, like, extroverted sensing. So, as far as that, as far as ENTPs, I put them down pretty low. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm not trying to be mean, but ENTPs, they maybe can go D or C tier. I'm thinking D. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm not saying they ugly, but I'm saying that it can take them a little while to develop that sort of aesthetic appeal and physical and attractiveness. Like I'm saying, that don't mean that they can't get a girlfriend or boyfriend. Now they can get a girlfriend or boyfriend just simply off their personality because it's so attractive. But we talking about the physical things. That low SI and then not having a high prioritized feeling function can make them struggle in some cases, like especially when they're younger, but when they get older, they get a lot better at it, of course. Okay, ESFJ. This is one that's kind of slept on. ESFJs can have a decent level of attractiveness, physical attractiveness, and sex appeal. Now, as far as why I rank them, they actually can go pretty high. When you talk about ESFJs, they actually can have they kind of like what do you want to call it? Underrated. You know what I'm saying? As far as physical attractiveness. But like the thing is, whatever gender they are, like whether it's male or female, they will be very much in touch with what's attractive for like male gender versus female gender. With SI and FE, it can help them a lot with that. FE is kind of thinking about how things they do affect people, and that can translate to how things they do could affect the opposite gender. So as far as like attractiveness and things like that, then introverted sensing, they think about traditionally like what's attractive and traditionally what is sex appeal, and it will fit them very well. It comes out very natural. So honestly, I'm gonna put them A. I mean, I'm just talking about in general. I'm just talking about just looks. You know what I'm saying? Now, there's plenty of ugly ESFJs out there. I'm saying there's plenty of them. But I'm talking about in general, literally, it just depends on the individual at the end of the day. Like, if you feel like you can always improve it, you know what I'm saying? Now, you may not be going from, like, let's say if you were 2 out of 10, you're not going to turn around necessarily and be a 10 out of 10 overnight, but you can get up a few points, maybe get to a 5, you know what I'm saying? If you work on it. That's what goes for everybody. But, you know, now you might be able to go to a 2 from a 10. I'm not saying you can't, but I'm just saying, like, most cases, you probably just go from a 2 to a 5, which is pretty damn good, you know what I'm saying? Anyways, so ESFPs. So think about ESFPs. I ain't gonna lie to you. They do ooze sex appeal, like effortlessly. They do ooze sex appeal. Both genders, as far as both genders, like whether they're male or female, they walk and talk sex appeal. I ain't gonna lie to you. They number one. I'm gonna say that right now. They go S tier. Oops. I'm gonna put them S tier. Damn, this shit let me click it. Okay. Yeah, ESFPs go S tier. I'm gonna just be 100% honest with you off the bat. And I'm not trying to be biased. I'm just being real. You know what I'm saying? You want to talk about it in general? ESFPs are like, it's not even close, honestly. You want to talk about sex appeal in general? Now, that doesn't mean all of them, you want to date all of them, because some of them don't have the best morals and personality to date. But there's also some ugly ones. Like I said, I've met plenty of ugly ESFPs, but in general, they do tend to have the best sex appeal, like I said. Anyways, ESTJs. So, ESTJs, they tend to not, I know some ESTJs, they tend to not care as much about fitting in with like keeping up with trends and stuff like that, as far as they might value practicality over keeping up with trends. Some ESTJs, I can't speak for all of them, but I think a lot of them could. Some of them really don't care about how they look and stuff like that, as far as like physical appearance. They might care more about working and being efficient and getting stuff done. Let me try not to curse because I don't want to get copyright, whatever, strike, whatever. Anyway, ESTJs, they don't always care about that type of stuff. They might care about getting stuff done or whatever job they do, getting their job done type of thing. So they might not value it as much. Honestly, I would put them down to C or D, maybe, just simply because I don't think they care as much about it. I think they could if they wanted to, you know what I'm saying? But as far as, let's see. So now we got ESTPs. Okay. ESTPs, I'm going to be honest with you. Another type that oozes sex appeal. They pretty much are pretty close between like I said, ESFPs is not even close, but second place, I say ESTP, just because extroverted sensing is pretty much the function for sex appeal. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not trying to be biased. I'm just being real. I know some of y'all might not like to hear that, but if we're telling the truth, extroverted sensing is the number one function. When you talk about sex appeal and physical attractiveness, extroverted sensing is going to be number one. And who are the two types that use extroverted sensing the best? ESFP, ESTP, that's their dominant function. Now, like I said, I'm repeating this because a lot of people, they watch my videos, they don't listen to what I'm saying in the video, so I'm going to say it again. I've met plenty of ugly ESTPs. It doesn't mean every ESTP is attractive. But in general, yeah. I'm repeating that for people who don't listen. I mean, I know y'all heard me say that a bunch of times, but people don't listen. I'm going to tell you that right now. All right. INFJs. So, INFJs, they almost always have a ton of potential as far as their physical attractiveness and sex appeal. Like I've met plenty of attractive INFJs. Like I said, I've dated them. I've dated a lot of INFJs, but like physical attractiveness, sex appeal, they actually can have a lot of physical attractiveness and sex appeal. But the thing I feel like that will hold them back from going up higher is I think it takes them a long time to put themselves together in a way. Sometimes they overdo certain things here and there just because low at C on their list. I'm just talking about in general, of course. Like, you know what I'm saying? I met plenty of ones that are attractive because I've dated a lot of them. Of course, if I've dated them, of course, I do think they're attractive. But you want to talk about in general? They got that FE. FE can help them as far as attractiveness. Some of them are a little clueless. I'm going to tell you that right now. But it's honestly really hard to say. I think they kind of go down the middle as far as that. It's hard to say either way. I'm thinking maybe B. I might change my mind later. INFP. INFPs, honestly, this is going to be a little hard. I've dated some INFPs, but like, I won't say I've dated a bunch of them, but as far as them, they do got like a hidden charisma about them, kind of like the ENFP, but they're a little different, you know what I'm saying? Some of them don't care as much about physical appearance and physical attractiveness. But then again, like, I think with that, I'm just thinking about their function state. That FI or whatever can help with that a little bit. Introverted feeling can be a decent function involving like physical attractiveness and sex appeal. Even though it's not his main, like, what do you want to call it? Main job. You know what I'm saying? But honestly, I'll put him C tier. Some about not every intuitive type. There's certain intuitive types, they're not really as in touch with the whole thing. Like if they're attractive, they're not thinking about it. It's not something they're tending to be. They can just be naturally attractive. You know what I'm saying? To be honest with you. They might not have as much control over it, but if they are attractive, this is like one of those things that just happen to be attractive. They're not, as in control of it. I put them about C tier. I think that's cool right now. INTJ can be seen as, like I said, it's kind of like the ENTJ where they can be seen more attractive when you're talking about the male INTJ versus the female INTJs. But the female INTJs are a little less attractive in general than the female ENTJs are. I think this is kind of my opinion, though. I'm hoping I'm not being too biased, but in this instance, I'm trying my hardest to be unbiased and just talk about in general. But at the same time, I'm talking about my opinion, but I'm not attaching my personal feelings to my opinions. If that makes sense. Hope that doesn't sound like a paradox. But anyways, INTJs, if I want to be as fair as possible, that's a better word, fair. I'm being fair versus unbiased. I'm being biased, but I'm also being extremely fair about my biases. So that's a better way to put it, now that I think about it. But anyways, INTJs, because of that, they might go a little lower than ENTJs, but like I said, I've met plenty of attractive. Maybe they'll go C tier. I'll say they go C. Yeah. INTPs are notorious for having bad hygiene. I'm like, I ain't trying to talk bad. They want a type that I respect a lot, but they got that lower SI. And what makes it worse is not just the low SI. Low SI makes them forget to take care of their bodily needs and stuff. But when they got that low FE too, bottom of the list FE, that makes it so they really just forget, and they kind of don't care about taking care of their hygiene and their appearance. They might be the last on. I'm not trying to be mean, but they really do go last on the list if I'm being honest. Because they don't care. Like, it wouldn't offend them if you say like they don't take care. Like most cases, they really don't care. Also, I don't think most INTPs watching this would really care that I put them this low. But yeah, they probably do go bottom because they just don't got that low FE makes it a little worse because FE also can kind of help when it comes to attractiveness. Even if a type doesn't have high SE, they got FE there that can help. You know what I'm saying? But that's just how it is. ISFJ, kind of similar to the ESFJ. ISFJs, they're underrated when you're talking about sex appeal and attractiveness. They're very underrated because they can be some of the most attractive, in general. They can be pretty attractive. They thinking about gender dynamics and what this gender, they can be in touch with that if they want to. Like, if whether they're a male or female, they can be in touch with it because of SI and FE. SI is kind of thinking about traditionally, like, what's attractive for a male or a female to do, or what a man does, what a female does. So they can be very masculine or they can come out very feminine. So with that being said, then with their FE, they're thinking about how what they do affects people. So they can apply that to what they do, like how what they do may affect the opposite sex when they're talking about sex appeal. Honestly, they go by A tier. So they up there, they go A tier. Maybe in front of the ESFJ, honestly, I think they all tend to be a little more attractive than the ESFJ. By maybe that much, it's not by a lot. ISFPs, they kind of are the archetype for the quiet, pretty boy or quiet, shy, pretty girl or whatever like that. They fit that archetype probably the best out of all the types. Like I said, extroverted sensing, it's just really good with sex appeal. Like I said, let me say this again for people who don't like to listen and comment on my videos and don't listen. I've met some ugly ISFPs. I'm not saying all ISFPs are attractive. Let me say that again for people who don't listen. But anyways, they probably go S tier. I'm going to be honest with you. They do go S tier. Okay, ISTJ. Now, ISTJ, another type that can be a little underrated when you're talking about attractiveness and things like that. They kind of look at it more of like an efficiency thing. They're thinking about what's the most efficient, and it can apply to sex appeal. But I think the male ISTJ, just simply because they tend to be more masculine, they're probably going to be more attractive than the female ISTJ is. So that makes it so they don't go quite as high as they could go. Honestly, I think they can go. This is tough. Now, if I was talking about just the males, I would put them up about probably a B tier. That's why I would put them if we were talking about just the males. But if we talking about both sides, male and female, and I'm kind of evening it out based on that, I'm probably go C. I'm probably putting that to C. So my own type. Now my type, if you want to talk about attractiveness, male ISTPs, of course, are going to be more attractive than female ISTPs. But I'm going to tell you this, female ISTPs will have the sex appeal down for sure. Like, they will have a lot of sex appeal. Male ISTPs, of course, we are up there amongst the most attractive when it comes to males. I'm just being 100%. I'm not trying to, like I said, some of y'all got mad when I made my hero video and I put my type up as S tier. When I wasn't trying to like toot my own horn, I was just being real. I'm being real here. We do go S tier. You know what I'm saying? Now, some ISTPs might have a little less sex appeal, here and there. I've seen some that don't have quite as much because they just chose not to tap into it. You know what I'm saying? There's some males some male ISTPs don't care about their appearance quite as much because they care more about getting stuff done. But most male ISTPs are attractive. Extroverted sensing just makes us in tune with physical attractiveness. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, I'm just trying to think. The female ones, like I said, they can be very tomboyish, but they can also flip that switch depending on like when they hit puberty and stuff like that. When they become more girly, they can be very attractive too. So like, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's all 16 types though. Of course, somebody might get butt hurt, but it is what it is. Anyways, thanks for watching. Damn.